In hydrogen peroxide, the oxidation state of oxygen is -1. Since the oxygen shows an intermediate oxidation state, it can go up to 0 or it can go -2. So, it can act as a reducing agent or as an oxidizing agent. It can accept the electron or it can release the electron. When it accepts the electron, it acts as an oxidizing agent. When it releases the electron, it acts as a reducing agent. Hydrogen peroxide as an oxidizing agent, the product will be water. Remember that. When hydrogen peroxide acts as an oxidizing agent, hydrogen peroxide changes to water. When hydrogen peroxide acts as a reducing agent, it gets oxidized and the product is oxygen. In both cases, hydrogen peroxide involves 2 electron transfer. So per hydrogen peroxide you will use 2 electrons per mole of hydrogen peroxide for any reaction. Hydrogen peroxide plus 2H plus 2 electrons gives me 2 moles of water. When hydrogen peroxide is acting as an oxidizing agent. So you can see in both cases it is a 2 electrons are involved. So per mole of hydrogen peroxide it will be 2 electrons. Hydrogen peroxide can function either as oxidizing or as reducing agent, both in acid as well as in alkaline medium. In alkaline medium, the reaction is faster than in acid medium. Because hydrogen peroxide is a 2 electron change, ferrous to ferric is a 1 electron change. So I need 2 moles of ferrous to get 2 moles of ferric and 2 moles of water. So you see, in all cases, if I have to oxidize iodide to iodine, I have to start with 2 iodide ions to get 1 mole of iodine. Okay? Now balance this reaction. Give me X, give me Y, give me Z.
Yes, sir.
Because for nitrogen, so it's a 6 electron change.
6 electron change. Yes.
And hydrogen peroxide involves 2 electron change. So 2 or 3 moles of hydrogen peroxide will give you 6 electrons. What do? You find out you have found out this M value. M is 2, isn't M is 2?
Yes.
So what is the charge on the product side?
Minus 4.
Minus 4. Make the left hand side minus 4.
4.
Then
Z equals 4.
Then how many water molecules? Count the number of hydrogen. 6 hydrogen plus 6, 12 plus 4, 60.
8
So for chromium 3 to 6. 3 electron change, hydrogen peroxide 2 electron. So cross multiply. That's all. You get 2 chromium hydroxide, 3 hydrogen peroxide will give you 2 chromate. Hydrogen peroxide and hydroxide ion will be depending upon the charge on the right hand side, 4 negative charge. So it has to be 4 hydroxide. Why are you taking so long a time? This to this, how many electrons change?
2 electrons change.
So what is the hydroxide ion?
2 OH minus.
That's all.
Yes.
Okay. So hydrogen peroxide will oxidize ferrous to ferric, ferrocyanide to ferricyanide in acid medium. Okay? It is simply, I have given you ferrous, now I have given you a complex salt of ferrous, that is ferrocyanide. Ferrous goes to ferric, ferrocyanide goes to ferricyanide. Hydrogen peroxide as a reducing agent. Permanganate ion in acid always gives you Mn2+. Remember that. As a reducing agent, hydrogen peroxide will be, what will be the product of hydrogen peroxide?
Oxygen.
So this to this, how many electron change?
5 electrons.
5 electrons.
This to this,
2
2
electrons.
electron change. Cross. 2H plus. 4H plus.
2H.
chromium in plus 6, going to plus 3. Each chromium 3 electron change. There are 2 chromiums, so 3 electron change. So it is 6 positive. The right hand side is 6 positive.
Yes.
Left hand side, make 6 positive. 8H plus hydrogen peroxide. How many hydrogen peroxide?
3H2.
Is it balanced?
Yes. Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
As a reducing agent in OH medium. In acid, hydrogen peroxide oxidizes ferrocyanide to ferricyanide. In alkaline medium, it's the reverse reaction. In acid, hydrogen peroxide oxidizes ferrous to ferric, ferrocyanide to ferricyanide. In alkaline medium, hydrogen peroxide reduces ferric to ferrite, ferrocyanide, ferricyanide to ferrocyanide. What is the electron change here?
1.
So it will be 2 times,
Yes.
because hydrogen peroxide to oxygen is a 2 electron transfer. So how many OH minus?
2.
You have
Minus.
8 minus charge.
Yes.
You have 6 and you have 2 hydroxide. So you have 2 hydrogen and 2 hydrogen 4, you have 2 water. KiO4 is called potassium periodate. So what will be the ratio of X and Y? X is what is the oxidation chain of iodine?
Plus 2. Plus
Plus 7.
What is the
Plus
oxidation?
8.
plus 5.
Plus 5.
So how many
2
electron
electron
chains?
change.
2 electron change.
So it will be X is equal to 1, Y is equal
1.
to 1.
Y equals to 1.
So why 2 you said X is equal to 2? Huh? So what will be the charge? You don't have any charge here. So it cannot be no H minus. If your product does not contain an ion or your reactant does not contain an ion, you cannot have a ion H plus or H minus. So hydrogen peroxide on ionization gives two series of ions. HO2 minus, that is called hydroperoxide ion, and this is called peroxide ion. So you have two types of salts, sodium hydroperoxide and sodium peroxide. Barium hydroxide plus hydrogen peroxide will give you barium peroxide plus water. Because this is a base, this is an acid. This is salt plus water. Acid reacts with a base to give you salt plus water. So barium hydroxide reacts with hydrogen peroxide to give you barium peroxide and water. That indicates that hydrogen peroxide must be an acid because barium hydroxide is a base. So if base can react with an acid, base cannot react with a base. So if base reacts with X to give you a salt, that means the X must be an acid. Sodium carbonate plus hydrogen peroxide gives you sodium peroxide plus carbon dioxide plus water. Evolution of carbon dioxide from carbonate can only take place if you react with an acid. So if carbon dioxide is evolved, that indicates the hydrogen peroxide must be acidic in nature. Is it clear?
Yes.
Hydrogen peroxide reacts with ethylene to form ethylene glycol. Yesterday I told you about ethylene glycol. Here, the chlorine oxidizes hydrogen peroxide to oxygen and get reduced to chloride ion. So Cl2 goes to Cl minus and hydrogen peroxide goes to oxygen plus 2H plus. Okay? Plus 2 electrons. Chlorine picks up 2 electrons to form chloride ion. Now the chloride and hydrogen combines to give you 2 moles of HCl. So this hydrogen peroxide is an anti-clot. What is anti-clot? Anti-clot means when you bleach a cloth with chlorine, then from the fabric, when the excess chlorine is removed in the form of HCl, the reagent which does that is called an anti-clot. Hydrogen peroxide, sulfur dioxide, and sodium thiosulfate. These three are anti-clot. What is volume strength means? The quality of hydrogen peroxide is determined by its volume strength. It means 1 ml of hydrogen peroxide gives how many ml of oxygen at STP. So when you say 20 volume hydrogen peroxide, that means 1 ml of hydrogen peroxide will give me 20 ml of oxygen at STP. STP is very important. The condition, you have to define the condition.
Excuse me, sir.
Uh,
What products do SO2 and Na2 and S2O3 give on reaction with chlorine?
I will give you. When it comes to sodium disulfate, we will do this reaction. It will give sodium sulfate, sulfur plus sodium chloride. We'll do it when we come to sodium disulfate reaction.
Excuse me, sir. So that reaction of H2O2 with Cl2, is the reaction same for all halogens or only for chlorine?
No, it will be for all halogens except fluorine. Okay, now we go to an allotrope of oxygen is called ozone. When you discharge, electric discharge of oxygen gas, it gets converted to ozone with absorption of 285 kilojoule per mole of energy. It absorbs energy to get converted oxygen to ozone. Because oxygen is more stable than the ozone. So since ozone, you are converting the more stable variety to a less stable variety, you have to provide energy. And that is why it forms with absorption of energy. Ozone, always treat with O2 plus nascent oxygen. For any reaction of ozone, 1 mole of oxygen will be evolved per mole of ozone. And the nascent oxygen will oxidize the reactant. Ozone at room temperature is a pale blue gas, but when it condenses at minus 120 degrees, it converts into a deep blue liquid. Have you written this?
Yes.
The percentage of ozone which you get is only 10%. If you want a pure ozone, what you get here, you get 90% oxygen and 10% ozone. Because the yield is only 10%. So the remaining amount is oxygen. If I want 100% of ozone, then I have to do fractional liquefaction to get pure ozone. So ozone is also produced at stratosphere, which is about 25 to 30 kilometers above the sea level, where oxygen under the action of UV radiation dissociates to oxygen atom or oxygen radical. And the oxygen radical combines with oxygen gas to convert into ozone. And this is only 1%. So ozone in the atmosphere is very dilute. And that is why the people are conscious about the ozone layer. That if chlorofluorocarbons, Teflon, Freon, nitric oxide, nitrogen dioxide, they deplete the ozone layer in the atmosphere. If the ozone concentration falls, then the UV radiation will fall on the earth and will cause skin cancer. So it is very important to have ozone in the atmosphere. to protect the UV radiation falling on the earth. Use of ozone, that is a disinfectant because it's very strong oxidizing agent, so it will kill the germs.
Yes.
Water purifier, to purify water free from bacteria or germs. The ozone, if you pass, the water will be free from bacteria. But this is expensive. So only the countries like USA or European countries use ozone as a water purifier. In our country, we use bleaching powder, which gives chlorine. Chlorine gives us bad smell and, and it gives a bitter taste to water. Whereas ozone does not give a bitter taste to water and does not give any bad smell. So ozone is better than bleaching powder, but ozone is more expensive. Deodorizer, that if a room is closed for a long time, it develops a bad smell. And when you pass ozone, you get the oxygen and the freshness develops, the bad smell goes. And that is why it is called deodorizer. It's a strong oxidizing agent. So you always see that 1 mole of ozone gives 1 mole of oxygen. So always the product of ozone will be oxygen. It's such a strong oxidizing agent that it will convert phosphorus to its highest oxy acid, sulfur to its highest oxy acid, sulfuric acid, phosphorus to phosphoric acid, and arsenic to arsenic acid. Balance this reaction. Phosphorus to be always written as P4, not P. It has to be written as P4. P4 plus ozone plus water. It gives you oxygen plus H3PO4. Ozone is a 2-electron oxygen. So 1 mole of ozone you consider involves 2 electrons. How many water I need?
6.
Okay. Now you do sulfur. How many moles of ozone?
3.
Is balanced?
Yes, sir.
I2 plus I2 plus O2 plus H2.
How many iodide ions you need to get 1 mole of iodine?
2.
So you first start like that. Write 2 iodide first. That will give you iodine, which is a 2-electron change. Ozone is a 2-electron change. So 2 iodide plus ozone plus water. What is the negative charge you have?
2 minus.
Why 2OH minus?
To balance the charge.
No. The nascent oxygen oxidizes iodide to iodine and get reduced to oxide ion. And the oxide ion reacts with water to give you hydroxide ion. Just not because of the negative charge, balancing of negative charge. You have to see this way. That why hydroxide ion? Because the oxide ion reacts with water to give hydroxide ion.
In these reactions, oxygen is present in the form of H2O also and O3 also. So during the change in oxidation state, why don't we consider an oxidation state of that oxygen which is in H2O to that of O2 in the products?
Well, ozone, you treat it as O2 plus nascent oxygen. And nascent oxygen is the oxidizing species, which is oxidizing iodide to iodine and gets reduced to oxide ion. Oxygen is not doing any oxidation. It is the nascent oxygen is a powerful oxidizing agent. It's a much more stronger oxidizing agent than oxygen molecule.
So how can we say that the O2 so formed in the reaction is as a result of O3's decomposition and not H2O's decomposition?
H3?
O3
Ah,
means O2 formed is only because of O3.
yes.
How can we say that?
Because O3, O3, why O3 is absorbs of energy to convert from oxygen to ozone, because oxygen is more stable than ozone. So ozone will convert into oxygen and nascent oxygen more readily than oxygen going to ozone. So when you react HCl or HBr or HI, when you pass ozone, it will liberate chlorine or bromine or iodine at room temperature. And it will liberate oxygen and it will form water, because the 2H plus oxide ion gives me water.
Yes.
The nascent oxygen oxidizes 2x2 plus 2 electrons, and O plus 2 electron gives O2 minus, O2 minus plus 2H plus gives me water, and that is why I get water as a product.
Yes.
Okay, do this reaction. Iodine plus ozone plus water to give, quick, you are too fast.
I2 plus 5O3 plus H2O gives 2HIO3 plus 5O2.
Yes.
So it's a 10 electron change,
Yes.
5 per mole ozone, 2 electron change. So 5 moles of ozone, 5 moles of ozone will give me 5 moles of oxygen. When you pass ozone through mercury, it forms mercurous oxide and oxygen. And mercurous oxide, before passing ozone, you will see the meniscus of mercury. If you pour mercury in a column, you will see the meniscus. If I pass ozone, the mercurous oxide will stick onto the glass surface and destroy the meniscus of mercury. And that is known as scaling of mercury due to formation of mercurous oxide. If you pass ozone to KOH solution, you get a red-brown solid that is called potassium ozonide. And you get oxygen and water. So that's all about what is the structure of ozone. So ozone has two resonating structures, and this is the structure for ozone. Now we go to nitrogen. You remember this is the reaction which I told here last night, that the green volcano reaction. that ammonium dichromate on heating gives
Yes.
nitrogen, chromic oxide and water. Chromic oxide is thrown in air, that is called green volcanoreaction.
Sir, in the last reaction of twice KOH plus 5O3 gives twice KO3 plus 5O2 plus H2O. Sir, in that case, what is getting reduced?
What is getting reduced? Ozone. Ozone is getting reduced to ozone iodine.
Sorry, what is getting oxidized?
That is, the hydroxide ion gets oxidized to oxygen, releases electron. So 2 hydroxide will give me half a mole of oxygen, 1 mole of water plus 2 moles of electron. And 2 ozone will plus 2 electron will give me 2 ozone iodine. 2 ozone iodine plus 2 potassium ion to give me 2 potassium ozonide. I didn't tell you. I thought I will not mention to you. This reaction troubled me for 7 days. I didn't sleep. I could not understand what is happening. How do I get a source of electron to convert ozone to ozone iodine? I tried everywhere, including IIT. Nobody could help me. Suddenly it struck me, it is such a simple question. One night, I was all the time thinking that a student asked me, from a PA student, asked me to give a mechanism for this reaction. And I felt very bad that for all the reaction I can give a mechanism, why not this reaction? I was not getting a source of electron. Then suddenly one night around 12 o'clock, it struck me that when I electrolyze water, why do I get oxygen? What is my source of oxygen? When I electrolyze water, it is the hydroxide ion. As soon as I got the hydroxide ion is my source, hydroxide ion goes to oxygen and gives electron. Immediately I can write that 5O3 will give me 5 oxygen atoms and 1 oxygen atom from here. That gives me 2 ozone molecules because 5 ozone gives me 5 oxygen plus 5 nascent oxygen. And I get 1 oxygen from here. So, give 6 oxygen, that gives me 2 ozone. And 2 electrons gives me 2 ozone iodine. Combines with potassium and you get potassium ozonide. Okay? It took me just 1 minute after it struck me that hydroxide is my source of electron. It is a very simple, but sometimes, a simple thing does not strike your mind. And this was an example where it troubled me for 7 days. And ultimately I could solve it. And just at after 7 days it struck me that yes, this is the reaction. So don't forget this reaction. 4 hydroxide gives oxygen, 2 water and 4 electrons. This will be required for many cases. So when you boil urea with nitrous acid, it gives you nitrogen, carbon dioxide and water. And the last method is which is the industrial method of preparation of nitrogen and oxygen as well. Air contains about 78% volume of nitrogen. So air is a very cheap source of nitrogen. So what do? You take air, pass through KOH solution, which will absorb carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, H2S, all which are present in air will be absorbed by KOH because they are acidic. So the base will absorb the acid, and now you pass the air through calcium chloride, which is a dehydrating agent. So you get air, dry air, liquefy it. So you get liquid air. And the liquid air contains nitrogen, oxygen, and rare gases. When you heat, the nitrogen comes out first because the boiling point of nitrogen is 195.8 degree minus 195.8 degrees Celsius. Boiling point of oxygen is minus 183.1 degrees Celsius. So which has a lower boiling point? Between nitrogen and oxygen, which has a lower boiling point?
Nitrogen.
Why nitrogen? Why nitrogen has a lower boiling point?